All right, here we go.
This is Rocco with J-Man, is with Michael Berryman. So how you doing?
I'm doing good. Saturday, and I'm in Canada.
Was your dad disappointed when you became an actor instead of a neurosurgeon like him?
No, not at all. I'd had a lot of different types of work before I got into acting, and I was pretty much serendipitous in the fact that I had left college and I wanted to be a veterinarian, but the ends of my fingers aren't that great. I couldn't do procedures. Um, so when I left college, I had a degree in art history, but not to be a teacher. So I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I was thinking of actually homesteading in Alaska, but I got sidetracked. Um, I had a friend whose house burnt down in Washington State. Went up there to help him rebuild it. And when I came back to L.A. area, I met a guy in Venice Beach named George Powell, and he was a guy that did War of the Worlds. Very nice gentleman. He says, "Hey, you want to work one day, be in my movie Doc Savage?" I go, "Yeah." And my dad, he was intrigued. He goes, "Oh wow, who would have thought?" So no, he wasn't disappointed at all. The main thing my parents wanted was for me to be able to take care of myself.
How long did you stay a florist before you quit to act full time?
Well, I was never a florist. When I was, that's a misquote from an interview, but when I was in high school, one of my part-time jobs was working on the weekends delivering flowers. So I delivered flowers for a flower shop. Um, went to a lot of funeral homes, weddings, bar mitzvahs, etc. Um, and Yeah, I never planned on being a florist, but I did have a little gift shop in Venice Beach, and we had houseplants. That's kind of where that conversation comes from.
Were you friends with Richard Hilton in school? And does he give you free rooms?
Well, I went to grammar school um, with the Hiltons. Yes, I did, and uh, they were very nice, very nice family. And Richard Hilton was a good guy. We would go surfing at they had a house in Santa Monica on the ocean, and I grew up around in Santa Monica. And I loved the body surf and go scuba diving and stuff like that. But no, I knew the Hiltons all through grammar school and beyond, and very nice people. And actually, a friend of ours that we also went to grammar school with became um, an accountant, and he did the taxes for the Hiltons. And he told them, "Look, sell all sell all the properties except the ones in the prime properties like Hilton Head, etc., and enjoy your life. The rest are properties that they lease out the name. So when I do stay at a Hilton, sometimes I'll go, hey, I went to school with Richard Hilton, but it does not get me a discount now." Thanks for asking.
Were you disappointed when you found out your scenes in Crow were cut from the film?
Um, yes, we were hoping. We had many conversations. See, Brandon got shot the day before I was to fly out to Wilmington and finish the film. It would have been Brandon Lee and me 2 weeks doing Skull Cowboy and Eric Draven. I was more disappointed, of course, that safety became compromised and we lost our friend. Um, we were hoping that we could do the scenes, but it really required Brandon's reaction and his facial expressions. So I'm a real safety advocate when it comes to working with weapons, and um, they totally made all three major mistakes. You never point a gun on another actor. The guns are always loaded. Um, they cut corners. They they sent home our armorer from California, who was an expert, and hired a local guy. North Carolina's a right to work state, so they figured we could save some money, but I'm sure the wrongful death suit cost them a lot more than what they would have paid to keep the armor they had originally.
I know we can see Skull Cowboy in deleted scenes, but do you ever think there will be a cut with you included?
Well, there is a book called "The Making of the Crow" by Kitchen Sink Press. And there is a entire chapter. It's called "On the Cutting Room Floor," with photos of Skull Cowboy and Brandon. There is some footage. I have some personal footage of Brandon and I doing rehearsals, but they're kind of private, so to speak. Um, there is a. I've seen a two-disc DVD of The Crow, and the second disc has some still shots and some footage, lighting tests, for instance.
Now, your role in The Devil's Rejects was the chicken scene. Was that all scripted, or was any of that improvised?
It's mostly all improvised. Um, we had scripted lines, but the guy selling the chickens actually went off. He went off script a little bit. So Ken Torrey and I are standing there, looking at each other like, we have dialogue, and this guy just he was just happy to have the camera on him. I'll just be honest. He was. If you're going to take advantage of a situation like that, you let your director and other actors know. Do it the way it's written first. That's being a professional. But he didn't do that. So by the time he got done with all his gyrations and stupid behavior, he kind of put everything in a different direction. So he left me no option other than to be, off the wall upset.
How did you hook up with Motley Crue to be in Smoking in the Boys Room?
Well, Mick Mars was a good. He was a fan of the Hills Have Eyes, to be quite honest. And they called my agent, and my agent called me up. And, hey, I got you a gig with a band called Muttley Crue. I never heard of him. He was an older guy, but I found him to be professional, delightful, talented, and we became really good friends. We did two videos together. I kept in touch with Mick after his arm surgery, see how he was doing on his recovery. Did fine. Very nice guy, very professional.
I don't know if you remember me, but about 5 years ago, I was watching your Q&A when I was a very little kid. And I remember I tried to sit with some boys who were older than me.
Yeah.
And I remember they were extremely mean to me. And I remember you said to me, come after to see me after the thing's done.
Right.
I remember you told me to never let bullies get me down and always have confidence. And then I remember I told you, my friend Marky said something very similar to me. And he said, well, Marky sounds like a great guy. And I told you, you might know him because he was in the band called the Ramones.
I know the Ramones. Yeah, I did a video with them. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, yeah, really nice guys. Really, really, really down to earth.
Now, you've become an icon in horror with The Hills Have Eyes and many other films. How did you first get involved with horror?
Well, I finished One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I had a meeting with my um, Peter Locke and Wes Craven and Barry Kahn, and they said, "Here's what we're doing. You look like you've been exposed to radiation." I said, "Well, I was, through my dad." And we liked the story. We figured out how to do it. And I lived out in the desert at that time, so I was working under those conditions. Aside from the heat being an issue, was not a problem for me because I've always been an outdoor kind of guy. So the story made sense. It wasn't too over the top, and there's certain boundaries that I have. There's certain things I will not do on camera, um, um, and it became a cult classic. Didn't hurt being on the cover either.
Which horror movies are you most proud of and why?
Well, Hills Have Eyes, of course, probably other ones that I've done. Well, there's one that's the only film made by Andrew Getty. It's called The Evil Within. Took about a year to film it. It stars me, Sean Patrick Flannery, Dina Myers, and Fred Kohler. It's based on a nightmare that Andrew had. And it's very, very ambitious, very intelligent dialogue. We filmed it at his castle. It's all practical effects, no CGI. That's the one I'm most proud of because the effort going into it was enormous. And there's also a scene where Matthew McQuarrie, who played Tiny in Rejects, had an opportunity to play a character that was not a scary, creepy, weird-looking guy. I lived at Andrew's estate for over a year, and I remember the day we had a meeting with Matthew, and Andrew said, you always get roles of being a monster, but you're really a human being. I wrote a scene for you to where you have an opportunity to expound on that premise. And he wrote all his dialogue himself. It's a great scene. So I was very proud of the fact that Andrew had that kind of awareness and humanity as a director writer.
Now, do you prefer roles that are scary or sympathetic or mixable?
All of the above. It depends on um, how well developed the character is, um, and are the actions true to the arcs. The story's usually in three arcs, um, and my approach is that can um, uh, can the character have relevance, and if it doesn't, I work with my writer director, so it will. Just try to be honest to the character, and like if I'm playing a bad guy, I'm going to play a bad guy so the hero has something to be challenged by. That's kind of the approach I take.
How did your experience on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest influence your latest horror?
Influence what?
Your latest horror, like
Well, my father was a world famous brain surgeon. I used to go on house calls with him. Familiar with state hospitals. I'm very familiar with how we treat or not take care of people with special needs. Um, Always been an advocate for that arena, so to speak. Cuckoo's Nest was a real working hospital. We spent 2 weeks with real patients, an hour a day, 6 days a week for 2 weeks. It was a very honest approach to mental health and how someone can be spending their whole life in an institution like that. They've never committed a crime. But my question that I pose people with is, to what degree is humanity being served? And that's aside from the way the story is in Cuckoo's Nest, the revenge of the evil nurse, etc., etc. On a larger scale, it reflects on uh, do do we as individuals, do you see the little piece of God that's in everybody? There are people that you will meet that are, in my opinion, soulless. Avoid them.
what was it like working on The Hills Have Eyes with Nick Musgrave?
Well, ask D. It was rough and tumble. Watch out for the cactus. Don't get bit by a scorpion or something like that. It was very physical. Cold at night, hot in the daytime. We didn't have extra sets. For instance, when I chopped up the trailer, we had to practice in slow motion. Every area I would strike. Um, you could only do it in one take. We got it in one take when Mars, which is the POV of the camera, uh, uh, when Eric pulls back, the camera lens gets wiped by the back of my head. Well, I actually bumped my back of my head into the lens cap, and it cut my head, and he had a shiner. But we just kept rolling. We had to get it in one take. Then when I took the hatchet and chopped up the divider, and then I break the table, I had a splinter all the way through my hand. Um, the mother, when she got shot and when she fell back into the couch, her her squib load was on an ace bandage, and it moved up. And when the explosion went off, it blew her nipple off. Yeah, so it was a real deal. Yeah, it was guerrilla filmmaking for sure.
All right, thank you so much for being on our show. It's been my pleasure, sir.
You're very welcome. All the best to you,
Thank you.
and same to you.